We had a very nice day yesterday, and the change in focus. I mean, we were doing great weeks 1 and 2 anyway, but the change in focus really elevated it this week. We were a lot of those. The process is working. The process is working. That's, I think, what's biggest right now.
Yeah, it is. Ooh, hey, look at this, Mike. I don't want to throw things off completely, but I think it's actually working. I think we're streaming on both. Wait, I can't hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
Oh, I hear you fine. Oh, beautiful. We're live on both YouTube and on this is amazing, and on Twitter. All right, fantastic. So yeah, I agree about the process working. What hits? Like, for people who missed the stream yesterday, what did they miss? Like, what can you even go through like all the hits we pulled off on the live stream that weren't even in the article that we just started throwing out during the stream yesterday?
Oh yeah, well the biggest one that wasn't in the article that I really pumped up yesterday, I'd say, was Cooper Kupp. We had enough evidence there to realize that Buffalo is just not good against these slot receivers so far this year, and that paid off again big time yesterday. Let's see, I have the numbers right here. Kupp yesterday, I think he was the number 6 receiver on the day. I had him as finishing as a top 5, but Justin Jefferson was like number 2 or 3, so we can maybe throw him out and cheat a little bit. But yeah, Kupp finished 9 for 107 and a touchdown on 10 targets, and this is the 3rd straight week now that the Bills have given up 100+ yards to a slot receiver. So we got a nice little trend developing there, and Kupp was really overlooked. I mean, the tournament that I was in, he was only 3% owned. In my cash game, he was 0.5% owned. So that was some massive leverage there on a huge game.
Yeah, Kupp was a great call. Now, I'm a little upset you said 5 and he was 6, but we'll let it go.
Another big one that we pumped up this week too was, well, 2 of them, but I won't go too much into Allen Robinson because I think he was pretty popular everywhere.
But he was definitely in the write-up too. He was definitely in the write-up.
Yes, yeah. The other big one that we liked that really went off was Tyler Boyd. Again, another slot receiver that we targeted that had a strong matchup against one of the worst slot corners in the NFL, and it paid off big for Boyd yesterday. Boyd ended up at, let's see, yeah, he went 10 for 125 yards on 13 targets. He didn't get in the end zone, but you know what? He got, he had a big game, and again, he was very low owned, and that, it's taking advantage of a great matchup, and it's pretty clear at this point, at least to me, that I'd say Boyd is Burrow's favorite target, and I'm losing my words now. The confidence is there from Burrow, and it's a great sign. And I think Boyd's only like 6,100 for this week. I haven't looked into the matchup yet, but I mean that seems too low if he's going to get close to double-digit targets. But yeah, I mean those are 2 of the bigger receiver plays that we nailed that were really, really low owned.
And speaking of low owned, and welcome to everyone joining the stream. We're just doing a quick recap from yesterday, and we're going to hit you up with tonight's game. We're going to spend the majority of our time talking about the Monday Night Football showdown between the Kansas City Chiefs and Baltimore Ravens. For those just joining, I am Doug Shane from Bankster DFS. I've got Michael Gudadero, also from Bankster DFS. You can find the website banksterdfs.com/subscribe. $3.99 a week gets you access to all of our content, articles, pools, Slack chat, and of course, all this. That comes free, actually. That comes free. We're talking about some of the value plays we hit yesterday because it's going to lead us into our conversation about some of the value plays for tonight. Mike was talking about his hits on Cooper Kupp and Tyler Boyd. We had 3 big hits yesterday on the stream as well that weren't in the article. Sexy Rexy Burkhead, Jeff Wilson, and T. Higgins. All 3 of those guys hit huge. We talked them all up on the live stream. If we just put together a lineup of our live stream guys, like we'd have popped the millie yesterday.
Yeah, it would have been close. Yeah, the T. Higgins was a great one, and that came simply from reading the inactives. John Ross wasn't questionable or even injured. He ended up being a healthy scratch, and then your first instinct was, well, it's got to open up things for T. Higgins, and lo and behold, it did. And probably even a little bit probably at the expense of AJ Green, who maybe these injuries have caught up to him, and even though he's playing, he's probably just not the same anymore.
Well, it was really at the expense of Drew Sample, but
that too.
And the reason we bring that up, and one of the reasons I wanted to kind of lead off was tonight. Before we got on the live stream, Mike and I were talking about this is a tough slate. There's so many high-priced guys that you're just going to want to attack on this slate, and you can't fit them all in. You're not getting Hill, Kelsey, Mahomes, Jackson, Brown, Andrews, CEH. Like, you can't get them all, right? So where are we going to find some value on this slate? In cash games, we're probably not going to go this low. But in a GPP, I'm looking at Devin Duvernay, the rookie wide receiver for the Ravens. Dude has only had one target each of the first 2 weeks of the season, and he's only gotten 2 catches, 31 total yards. But when you think about it, he's put up 2.9 and 2.2 points in each of those games. Not a huge number at all, but they're obviously getting him something. And he's only $400. Now, for $400 to get 2.5 points, that's over a 5, almost a 6x value. 2.5 is 6x value. 3x value. We like to look at the 3x value as the number to shoot for. And listen, 150 is going to do you good in a showdown slate. So if you can get a guy like Duvernay, I'm not using him as a captain or anything, but if you can get a guy like Duvernay at $400, I don't even know do I have that in spot. He's not even 400. He's 300. Oh no, he is 400. Okay, yeah. Duvernay's $400. Like, you put Duvernay in your lineup, and then we can start to do some things with your lineup. Now you can start to get probably 4 high-priced guys. I haven't done this. I haven't gone through this, but let's just say you want to go all out with Lamar. I mean, get there. You can't get there with the 4 unless you want a little bit cheaper. But if you go with your flex with Hilaire, I mean, you need to go with probably somebody a little cheaper at the captain to get a little bit of a higher build there. But it's doable. But even then, look what you got. I mean, you could get a Hilaire captain spot, a Mahomes, a Kelsey, Lamar, and then you've got a couple guys who are playing. Darwin Thompson, Nick Boyle, Gus Edwards, Darrell Williams. They're all playable. The Chiefs' defense, I'm not sure I want to play them, but here's a guy I'm looking at a lot in this slate. And again, I don't love playing 2 value guys if I don't have to, but if you want to spend up for 4 of the biggest guys, that's what you do. But Gus Edwards, man, like, he doesn't catch any passes, but they're definitely getting him in the ball game. And I don't know if the Ravens are going to be up as big as they have been in some of their other games, in their other 2 games this year. They're not going to be against Kansas City, but they want to get Gus Edwards the football. They give him enough time to carry a little bit of the load. And again, at just $1,600, you need what? That's 4.8 points. Well, no, he didn't do it week 1, but week 2, just on volume, he had a nice little run. He got those 10s, and he's always been a yards per carry guy. 7.3 points is going to get you there. So if he gets you there, and if Duvernay gets 1 catch and gets you there, well then listen, Hilaire and Mahomes and Kelsey and Jackson, or Tyreek Hill, Mark Andrews, Marquise Brown, whoever you're using, they're going to have to hit value. But if they have a monster game, you can get there.
Yeah,
you can get their value plays, and that's been the talk, right? Steve jumping into chat and is talking about Nick Boyle as a guy. Well, he gets in there.
That's a big thing on Gus Edwards. I mean, my thought would be Baltimore's probably ideal game would be similar to how last week worked out against the Texans, that they don't exactly want to get into a track meet with Patrick Mahomes on the other side. They're going to want to look to run the ball a lot, control, keep the Chiefs' offense off the field as much as possible. Because as good as Baltimore's defense is, when you're playing a team like the Chiefs and Mahomes, it's very hard to contain them for 4 full quarters. So, you could see Edwards getting, a lot more run. And let's not forget, too, like you did say with, Nick Boyle, he's on the field the majority of the game. They're not afraid to go 12 personnel, or even if they do have a tight end on the field, Boyle's the blocker, but he gets a catch or 2. He got 3 targets week 1. He got a target last week. And, all you need is Boyle to get a target in the end zone and convert. And, you got a, massive value there. Same thing with Patrick Ricard, their fullback. I mean, this guy is on the field pretty much the entire game as well. And he's like, he's your prototypical guy that, he's going to, if the ball's on the 1 yard line, they're going to give, that quick fullback handoff to try to sneak it in. Or even, he gets, he runs like those little sneak routes to the side where they don't, like, he had that week 1, right? Was it week 1 or week 2? Yeah, last week, he had that little sneak out to the side on a play action, and he got, 1 yard touchdown reception. Those are the types of things that you're looking for if you're really looking for that value guy to really load the lineup on.
And I'm going to get right back to the Gus Bus conversation too. I have to, because look, I pulled up Mark Ingram's stats, and what's he doing that's really so different than Gus Edwards on a good game, right? Listen, I get that Edwards had 4 carries week 1, 10 carries week 2, and Ingram had 10 and 9. So, yeah, there's a little more consistency there. But the points, I mean, if you take the touchdown away, because, Lamar is just as likely to run it in, or Dobbins had the 2 touchdowns the first week. They're just as likely to throw it to Andrews from the 1, or give it to Ricard from the 1. So it's like, okay, so we got to look at volume. I look at volume. I'm not in, I just don't play with the touchdown dependency. So you take that touchdown out. He only had 9 points last week. Why are people watching Ingram go off for like 4 touchdowns this game? But like, seriously though, I see so many people putting Ingram in their cash game lineups, and I just think you're losing so much value potential by doing that, because he's not a workhorse running back, and you're getting Gus Edwards for so much cheaper, $1,600 for Gus Edwards versus, what is it for Ingram? 68. You're talking $5,200 in difference. Yeah. I mean, $5,200 gets you from Sammy Watkins up to Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Marquise Brown. So now you start asking yourself, would I rather have, what would I rather do? Would I rather have Mark Ingram and, trash down here like Watkins? I don't love Watkins. Watkins, Hardman, I mean, they both can find, or would you rather have Gus Edwards with one of these higher end players? I'm taking Gus with the higher end players. So, yeah, that's where I'm going. We got a question from Steve in here asking, I think it's Steve. Just judging by the picture. Can anyone in the right mind fade Mahomes or Lamar? Cash, I think you have to play them both. GPP, I've got lineups that I've had lineups without Mahomes and Lamar. I think in a cash, GPP, I think you can absolutely play without Mahomes or Lamar. I just think, it's a contrarian-ish type of build. In cash games, no, I think you have to. In cash games, I think you have to play both Mahomes and Lamar, and you can get there. You can get there with a decent enough player if you're looking at the defenses or the kickers. I do think the kickers, I mean, these are the 2 most accurate kickers in NFL history. Believe it or not, they're, again, high volume kickers, averaging 11.5 points a game. I mean, Tucker has put up, Justin Tucker is the best kicker who's ever played the game. I don't care about what any other kicker's ever done. He's a bad mother Tucker, as I like to say. And there's no one better. He's got 9 and 16 points for $4,200. Yeah, he might not get you that 12. Not going to sink a cash game lineup. And again, we don't always have to look for 3x for cash in a showdown slate. And again, Butker 10 and 13. I mean, if they could both get you double-digit points in this game, so you throw them both in there with Mahomes and Lamar. Even if you throw one of them in as your captain, there's enough value there on the slate. And again, we're not giving out lineups because that's not within the terms of service for FanDuel and DraftKings. So we're not telling you lineups to play. We're just putting names in a box to kind of show you what it could look like. You're not getting a ton of money left over, but you throw Tucker and Butker in there, and then you get, let's say you go and you spend down for one of these guys. Let's throw Duvernay in there. In a cash game, not that I would use him necessarily. Well, now I got $9,900 more to spend to play with a Tyreek or a Brown, and so I don't know. Let's say you're comfortable with Andrews, which you're not playing Andrews in cash, but now you're looking at over $2,000. Now you got Demarcus Robinson, I think, at 22 in play. No, Demarcus is 3. All right, so you've got Williams in play, Edwards in play. So you've got some guys you can use for cash, and you can still get guys who are going to score. That's the cash. You're looking for that floor. You're not going to beat out a lineup that's got Tyreek Hill most likely if he goes off. In order to get Tyreek Hill in a lineup like this, you're probably going to have to spend down somewhere else. Tucker and Butker, if they can each – Tucker and Butker, that sounds funny. You 10, Jackson and Mahomes are doing what they do. You've got a real good shot. Now you pull Jackson out spot and you put, I don't know, what else in there? Maybe like Marquise Brown as a cash game. And I think he's definitely in play as a cash game option.
Yeah.
As your captain. And then you put Jackson in there. Well, now you got $4,200 to spend. Well, now you can put a Ravens defensive board players you can put in. So I think, getting back to Steve's question, I think in cash, it's just there's no reason to fade them. You're probably not winning a GPP with that kind of a lineup, most likely. You're gonna have to catch a little bit of luck, but I think in a cash game, I think you have to have them both in there.
Yeah, and even in a GPP, I mean, you can definitely. I mean, if I'm fading one of the two, I would fade probably Mahomes, because you can still see a way that Hill and or Kelsey get there without Mahomes having a big game. And again, if you're fading somebody, I believe in the notion that defenses win these types of games and win your big seasons and all that. So if there was a fade, I personally would probably fade Mahomes over Jackson just because of the defense that he's going up against.
I actually think too, if you're going to do GPP where you're fading one of the two, I agree completely that you fade Mahomes. You can build a much better lineup with Lamar Jackson and you can still get some exposure to Mahomes. So you build a Lamar Jackson lineup, and then you've got Brown and Andrews, and maybe you throw I really like Willie Snead. We'll talk about him in a minute. I kind of like Willie Snead in the dirty slot. Our new, we'll look at later this week, we got a new column coming out called something with the slot receivers. It's going to be something, either a dirty conversation or or just a funny name with slots. But anyway, slot receiver Willie Snead. There's options down here. Then you can put a DeMarcus Robinson, go Sammy Watkins. And that brings us to the question Rich has asked. Wants to know if Watkins is playing. He's active.
He is active.
Is he going to play? I don't know if he's going to get much action. But he is active this week. So I'm personally fading Watkins for the most part. If you're playing a ton of lineups, you throw him in there. But I'm not targeting him. I actually think DeMarcus Robinson has a somewhat decent type of a game. What are your feelings on Watkins, Mike?
I mean, it's Sammy Watkins. I don't know. I mean, it's are we gonna see week one Watkins that he takes advantage of the matchup because defense is gonna focus on Hill and Kelsey, or is Watkins gonna exit early? Is he just gonna be non-existent on the field? He's been such a frustrating player his career, just because he is insanely talented. He has a first round pedigree. So, I mean, that always, says a big thing about a player. Listen, if you're building multiple lineups, you should have some exposure to him, because if this does become a track meet, you're probably going to see Watkins, put up at least 5 catches and 50 to 60 yards if it is a shootout. I'm a little more intrigued by Hardman this week. I know Watkins got a full practice in on Saturday, but he was pretty limited the rest of the week, and he probably, I'd have to go back and check, but I would assume he probably didn't even practice the first couple of days this week. So maybe Hardman got a little more run in there with the first team. Maybe he's going to get on the field a little bit more. DeMarcus Robinson has just looked. He had some nice time last year, but he's just looked bad this year. He's made a couple of bad drops, and I mean, Hardman, profiles so much like Tyreek Hill that a guy that they would love to get involved. And again, with a guy like Hardman, all you need is like that one deep pass. If Hardman, to get a 40-yard touchdown, a 50-yard touchdown, that's all you need right there is that one big play, where Watkins is going to be, he doesn't really quite have the speed he used to, so he will be a little more volume dependent on it. So I would probably look to Hardman over Watkins, I think.
And I'm team DeMarcus Robinson. I have been. He's a little bit cheaper. He's got the target share now. If you look in the little player notes, like by RotoWire, they do say that it looks like Hardman would be the one who had extra snaps. It was Hardman who got the extra snaps, not Robinson. I just think Robinson's the experienced guy, and so that's where I would go. But I think that's what makes these sound so interesting, because you a little bit more, you get Hardman. He does profile like Tyreek, and boy, he takes one to the house. Then you're sitting real pretty with Hardman. I do think Hardman will end up with more ownership than Robinson, which does scare me a little bit. Speaking of ownership, Mark wants to know for cash, it comes down to Hill and Kelsey. He wants to want the most ownership. I think in cash, if people are smart, I think in cash they're going with Travis Kelsey. He's had a great start to the season. Mm-hmm. As you saw, the little green check mark struggles a little bit with the tight end. I just think his floor is much higher. He's going to get you 6 to 10 targets. You got to take the touchdowns out of the equation. So he's going to get you, 6 for 50 seems reasonable. And that's what he had week 1. Even that 11 points, it's not great with some touchdown upside, but it's points. And I think he's far less boom bust than Tyreek Hill. Now I get, look, Tyreek Hill puts up points, and it's probably Tyreek Hill, but it looked like the catch rate last week against the Chargers was not good. Touchdown both weeks, huge plays, but look what happens there against Houston, just 5 for 46.
Yep.
That touchdown's there, but it's like I don't know. I feel Kelsey's always the safer play. I heard someone talking about you always play Tyreek Hill and catch. I don't remember who it was, and I'm not going to rip anyone from another side or anything. For me, that didn't make sense. For me, Tyreek Hill is never a cash play. He's always a GPP play for me. When I'm in a showdown, volatile. Yeah, and it's showdown. It's Kelsey over Hill for me. What are your thoughts on that in terms of where Mark G should go?
Yeah, I do prefer Kelsey's floor for a cash build. And also, too, I mean, I don't know if it was just me, but the first 2 weeks, Tyreek hasn't quite looked himself. I mean, I know the numbers are there, and he made the big play last week, but he just, not that I wouldn't say he lost a step, because that's definitely not the case, but he just, I don't know, he just doesn't look right.
His demeanor looked different on the field. He looked, you're right, he did look.
And I think that injury is still lingering from, from training camp where, he got hurt and it looked like he may even miss some time, and he was back a lot faster than kind of was expected. And he may just have some lingering injury issues there that it's nothing necessarily that he can't play through. But I mean, again, look at Alvin Kamara last year. Kamara played through through those injuries, and he missed a couple of games, but he just really struggled. He didn't look right all year. And then this offseason, we come to find out what he was actually playing through. Mm-hmm. And now that he's fully healthy, and he's the best running back in the league this year through 3 games. Yep. So, sometimes these players, bless them, because they want to play through their injuries. They want to be out there, and I really admire that. But these are sometimes the things that we need to look at and sort of guess on and take an educated guess. So, I would say, for a cash, for something where we want consistency, I mean, Kelsey is definitely the guy that we know is going to be there.
Yeah, and just to be clear, this isn't a fade Tyreek Hill at all costs kind of thing. I think in a GPP, he's an awesome guy, but in a cash game, I just think I'm playing for safety, and I just want to cash. I just want to hit that the middle 50%. Sorry, the top 50% of that field. I'm taking the guy who I feel is going to get me, has the better chance for a 5 for 50, and not the guy who can go, 3 for 30 or 7 for 170. Like that's a GPP play for me. Kelsey's going to be steady every single week. Rich wants to know if we would want to play Boykin in cash. Thought about it. I'm not stats. I mean, he's priced decently. I think if he would be the Baltimore where I would go with DeMarcus. The targets are there for cash. I mean, honestly, at his price point, in a showdown slate, obviously I'm not playing him in cash in a main slate, but in a showdown slate, you need 9 or so points. Again, 150s you might not need to cash in a cash game depending upon how people are configuring their lineup. So maybe you don't need quite that 10 points out of him. I mean, he's put 6, 7 points up. He's got the targets, 9 targets over the 2 weeks. If he's able to have a larger average yards per catch, if he gets up to 14, 15 yards per catch, 4 catches, 60 yards, you got 10 points. I have no problem with. Now that I'm talking through it, I don't have a problem with Boykin in cash, especially using both quarterbacks. I think Boykin is a real strong cash play. I had him originally in the beginning of the week. I looked at him, and then I kind of moved around with my thoughts on him. But yeah, for sure. What are your thoughts on that, Mike? Any different thoughts on that? Or?
No, I think Boykin is fine. I mean, he looks to be, at least in my opinion, establishing himself as the number 2 receiver. He's probably still number 4 or even number 5 on the receiving depth chart. Behind Andrews, Brown, Ingram, and Dobbins. But Boykin is definitely establishing himself as the number 2 wide receiver. And again, if the Chiefs double team, Marquise Brown, they focus on him to kind of take him out, that'll lead to probably more opportunities for Boykin. So there's definitely a path to success there. And, with the targets that he's gotten this year, he's definitely viable for cash this week.
When you really look at the stats, too, I'm a big Willie Snead guy for this game. I just think he's just so sure-handed, but he hasn't really produced. Other than the touchdown, he hasn't done anything more than Boykin this year. He's seen less targets, better catch rate, a little more yards per catch, and I do there's that trust that Lamar Jackson has in him, and if you could get up to there, I'd probably still prefer Snead in cash over Boykin, but Yeah, I got no problem with Boykin. The more I think about it, I'm not changing my own cash lineup right now, but Boykin's a guy who's definitely in play. Let's see. Had another question here. Do you have a certain strategy for large field GPP in a showdown? Chalk captain or low ownership? And I would say that probably depends on if you're playing a single bullet and you're just trying to take a shot. Are you mass multi-entering? Are you playing 150? Because at that point, it doesn't matter. If you're playing one or two lineups, I try to play in a large field GPP. I prefer the 3 max on a showdown. I've single entry is cool if you're really just going to shoot that one entry, but I like a 3 max. 3 max, I play a cash lineup and I play one chalkier kind of a captain and then one less chalky of a captain. And then that way I'm able to fill in the players. I still, just like I would with a normal slate, I try to build my core of players that I want to target. So, and you know, a lot of places will talk about grouping. So if I've got my captain is a pass catcher, I'm going to want their quarterback and I'm going to want a run back player from the other side. If my captain is a running back, I may want a pass catcher from the other side, but I may want the defense from the team that I've got the running back on. I almost never use quarterback in a captain slot except when it's Lamar Jackson. When it's Lamar Jackson, I've almost never not used Lamar Jackson as captain, at least in one of my major lineups. I believe he's the captain in my cash lineup this week. I believe he's the captain of my chalkier Ravens-led stack. But 70% of showdowns are won with a running back or receiver in the captain spot. But 50% of Ravens showdowns are won with Lamar Jackson in the captain spot. So that shows there's a huge difference when it's Lamar Jackson with that. And I think running quarterbacks will get you there. I think at Cam Newton, you'll see that kind of change in percentage. Same thing with a Kyler Murray. I just think especially a team like the Ravens where the offense runs through basically 3 or 4 players. It runs through Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, Marquise Brown, and whoever the running back is. I wouldn't even say it runs through Mark Ingram anymore. I would say it's those 3 guys. Like that's, if you're stacking Ravens, that's where you're stacking. And in that case, for me, Lamar is going to be my captain in that respect. So hopefully that answered Richard's question. I know I rambled a little bit on there, but do you have any different strategy how you do that, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. So what I'll do if I'm feeling, a little frisky that day, if I'm making 10 to 20 lineups, I'll pick, 5 to 10 guys that I think can be the high scoring player on the day and use them as captains and build different lineups, around that. So my most common go-to is doing 10 lineups, 5 different captains and building 2 versions of the lineups with them at captain. And because there in that respect, then, especially for these large field tournaments, you're kind of covering all of the bases there with a lot of different potential. So like, for instance, if with your 2 Lamar lineups with him at captain, one like kind of like what you were saying, Doug, you can maybe get a little chalky and make one a little bit out there, or even since Lamar will probably be very chalky at captain, make them both a little out there, a little contrarian with what you're looking to do. Simply because with Lamar as chalky, if he goes off, well, you definitely need him as captain to win. So then you can look elsewhere to really make it up, whether it's finding that $400 price player that scores a touchdown, or the number 3 or number 4 receiver on Kansas City that has 100 yards receiving. It's looking for those types of things. But sometimes multiple lineups is probably a little better on these showdowns because, again, with only 6 spots, it's pretty easy to make a bunch of lineups and to get creative on it. Everybody's getting wacky on these things to win. So there's no such thing as even too wacky, I would say, with these slates, especially on the large fields.
Yeah, I think one of the big questions we get a lot too is how much cash is too much cash to leave over. Now, am I leaving 10 grand over? Probably not. That doesn't mean if you are only spending 40 of your 50,000 cap that you can't win. You absolutely can, right? If Duvernay goes off and has a Chase Claypool 3 catches, 103 yards and a touchdown type of a game, and you don't have him, you're probably not going to win the GPP. You'll still cash most likely because he's going to be so low owned, but you're not winning a GPP without him. And then, if you do that and maybe you want to have Lamar with them and Mahomes and you're like, maybe I feel DeMarcus Robinson and I'm going to throw whatever, Tyreek Hill in there, well, you might leave 25, 3,000 left over. It's not a big deal. In cash, I'm going to try to spend as close to my 50,000 as I can, or 48 to 50,000. But I'm not so sure if I'm going to try to leave like 10 grand left over. I do think you have to watch out for that. So I think there is a little bit of a level of too wacky, but I think your configurations, absolutely what you're saying, Michael, are true. Like, we need to make sure that we're being a little creative. One of the things that you pointed on was, and it's something I thought about this morning when I was thinking about today's live stream, was just taking a moment and talking about just the pressure. And it sounds weird to say the pressure, but sometimes when we watch providers, right? We're a provider. There's a lot of great providers out there. I watch a lot of videos. Obviously, I have no problem with people watching other providers. I'm not wrestling. I don't pretend there's not other people out there doing what we do, right? So as much as I love wrestling, I got great stuff.
You mean there's another competition against WWE?
That's
right? Not possible.
So listen, I watch other stuff. I think the other providers are great. I learn from them. Hopefully there are people who watch us and learn from us. But one of the things I feel is a lot of sites, and we do it too, is talking about mass entering, like the 150, and how do you put together 150 entries with your lineup builders and your optos, and which we don't have. I'm not an opto guy. I'm not a lineup builder guy. I get people who do it. It's a big debate within the industry now. If you ever watch Pete Overzet over at Roto Grinders, he's a big build by hand guy, and it's like he speaks to me with that, because I'm a build by hand guy too. Well, you're not building 150 lineups by hand. Like, that's ridiculous. And right. There are things that'll help you. But I always feel when I watch these videos that, like, there's this pressure to be like, oh my gosh, if I'm not entering 150 lineups, I'm not going to win, because that's how I cover every single combination. That's not true. There's so many permutations of potential lineups here, that 150 doesn't even cover a small percentage of how many lineup configurations there are. So don't feel like you have to put 150 lineups in there. Can you? Yeah, absolutely. If you can afford to do it, go for it. But like, when I was legally allowed to play, which I can't because I live in Nevada and Nevada sucks, so I haven't been able to legally play for 5 years, I was never a mass multi-enter guy. I would enter, if on an NFL weekend, if I was going crazy, I'd enter $100. Like, that was way outside my comfort zone. And so, I started this site and I started writing for people who are entering $20, $10, $50 maybe, and who are trying to hit that lottery and to win the millie. And recently, as anyone who's been reading the now Moving the Chains column knows, that I've shifted my focus from that to cash games. But that doesn't mean that doesn't still live inside me, that desire to hit big. And so I've been trying to do that on my 3 max entries. And that's, don't feel, I guess the whole point of that is, don't feel you need to pop 150 entries into any tournament to feel like you have a shot to win. Like, you could win with just a single bullet. Obviously, the more lineups you have, the more opportunity you have to get that nut lineup. But you can still have fun with a small lineup. Like, if I were playing right now, I'd enter $15, $10-15 on a showdown slate. For me, that's where I feel comfortable playing right now. And I would enter, and that's what I would enter. I did a lot of free rolls. I mean, look, I don't know how other people do it. I don't know how to black it out. You can see my balance on DraftKings. That's from free rolls. I can play free rolls, bless DraftKings in Nevada. And so, I don't play for a lot of money, obviously, because it's illegal. I play the low, but you can have fun playing for a small amount. And if you hit for something, like on a free roll, I hit for $25, which was the top prize. Good for me. And you do it with a single bullet. So you can play for small amounts and build as you get closer, but don't feel that pressure. I guess it's one of my soapbox moments. I just feel, because I've always felt that pressure to make more lineups. No, you play 2-3 lineups and you're going to be okay. You can have fun, especially if if you're doing cash, you put spend $20 and you put 15 in cash, and then you do $5 to take that shot in a GPP. Great, a single entry, a 3 max, whatever it is, and just build smart lineups. But getting to the point, and this is where this all came from, the point Michael's making, the less lineups you're playing, the less wacky your lineup should be. If you're playing 150 lineups, you might throw a Devin Duvernay in as your captain for one of those lineups. You're playing 3 lineups, I'm sticking to my tighter player pool. You might get Duvernay as a flex if I really felt strong about getting 4 high-priced guys in there. But generally, I'm sticking to that tighter pool of mine. So maybe I'm looking instead within that pool of, all right, Boykin's in that pool, Robinson's in that pool, definitely the kicker, Snead, Edwards, maybe a Nick Boyle. Again, Duvernay might be in there for one of my 3 or 4 lineups. He's not coming up. But again, you're build that. There's certain players I'm just going to avoid. Like I'm not putting England there. I just don't feel in 3 lineups he's worth what I could just get Gus Edwards for. And so, I'm just going to, again, I just want you to feel that. I don't want people to feel pressure. And that's not coming from you. I thought about that this morning. Like, man, there's just so much everyone talks about, just putting your groups together and making the rules and playing 150 lineups. And I have 3% of this guy and 12% of that. Like, playing 3 lineups, you're going to have 33, 67, or 100% or 0%. Like, It's a lot easier to figure those numbers out. And that's okay. That's, I guess, the whole point I'm making is that's okay. Sean's very happy with the Duvernay talk. Like, he must have Duvernay in some lineups today because Shawnee's going a little bit crazy. I don't know why Sean's not jumping on camera with us, by the way. He has got a face for live cam. I was going to say
maybe he just has the face for the pods.
No way, man. No way. Beautiful man, like all of us, right? No, he's. But hey, I'm glad he's in the chat. And so, I guess he likes Duvernay. All right, so Steve gets it. Steve totally gets it. Focus on the cash. Throw a few GPP entries in there.
And that's been my thing too. I'm usually looking. My focus is usually like 80% cash, 20% GPPs, and that's how you build the bankroll. And then you can, as time goes on, you can expand the GPPs. And like my best example of this is just yesterday. I had Kenyon Drake and Logan Thomas in my cash game lineup. Those were probably the 2 lowest scoring players that we had in the pool. And then I also had the Jets defense that got me a big fat goose egg. But guess what? I had no issue at all hitting my cash games yesterday, even with those 3 choices in my lineup. On the flip side, if I had that in a GPP, I probably wouldn't have been that close to sniffing the cash line, let alone hitting the top spot. So, there's a lot to be said on focusing on the cash. And again, still playing GPP. I always love playing a good GPP and making, a couple of lineups and, doing some stacks and really looking to hit one big. But if you're focusing on cash, you'll have a much easier time building the bankroll and really getting up there that you can play either some higher stakes or playing more GPP lineups that, 2 level instead of, like you were saying, going crazy, building 150 lineups, dropping $300, in a week on games, and you lost $250, and now you got $50 to play the rest of the season.
Exactly.
It's staying all within your price range because this becomes a bad issue for people, and we want to steer everybody the right way and really have this going well.
And I think the best point you made there, Mike, was the safety that you're looking for in that cash game. I mean, you talked about the Jets defense, and listen, I wrote them up. I had them in the cash lineup I would have used that I put together for Shiz and Gigs. I always put it together just to see how the pool works out. I mean, my cash lineup scored 184 points with the Jets giving me nothing. I had a lineup, another lineup that had the Giants at -4, -2, whatever they had yesterday, and it popped 184 points because you're putting those safe plays in there. I mean, you're playing, Russell Wilson, and you're playing those high volume running backs. And this is, again, I know we're talking about the showdown slate, but the concept's the same, right? You're playing those plays with the low floor, or the high floor. It's great if they have a high ceiling, but you want those high floor plays. That's why we're looking at. That's why I think in a showdown slate, it's especially this one where you have such high volume and high-end quarterbacks, you've got to have those quarterbacks in there because they're just going to give you that floor you're looking for. And that's why I like the kickers. Like, I never play kickers. I was talking to my buddy back east, and he was joking. He's like, you're really thinking about using kickers in a cash game lineup. I'm like, I think these 2 kickers and these 2 offenses, you're going to get that 10-point floor because, listen, if you're looking in that price range, it's this 4,000-ish price range, okay? Let's look at a guy like Mecole Hardman, who, again, Mike likes Mecole Hardman. I love him he's fine for a GPP, but his floor. What's his floor? His floor is here. There's your floor, 1.6 points. 7 points was his high game for the year. He doesn't get a ton of targets. $4,600. Look at a J.K. Dobbins, okay? J.K. Dobbins, $5,600. You going to use J.K. Dobbins in cash? I'm not using J.K. Dobbins in cash. 2 carries. Yeah, you got the touchdown week 1. 7 carries, 2 carries, 1 reception. The volume's not there. Where's the floor on J.K. Dobbins last week is 2 points. Well, look at Tucker. Tucker's going to get you 8 to 10 points. I mean, they're going to score. They're going to score in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he might not hit 4 field goals, but he's going to get you 3 to 5 extra points, 2 to field goals. He's going to get you 10 points. That's what you're looking for in a cash game. Harrison Butker, same thing. So in this price range, even Miles Boykin, getting back to Rich's question from earlier about Miles Boykin, do I think he's okay for cash? Yeah, he's going to get you 6 as a floor, which is, right around where the kicker is. Do I think the kickers are a little bit safer? Yeah, that's why the kickers are in the lineup that I put together for cash games, and Miles Boykin wasn't. And again, that's why we talk Kelsey over Hill. Hill doesn't score a touchdown week 1, and Hill doesn't score a touchdown week 1, and where's his volume at? He's at 9 points. Kelsey's going to get you 10, 11 points. I'll take that. The volume is Jackson. Yeah, it is. That's why Lamar Jackson is not the guy who I want to put in the cash games. That's why he's my captain in cash games. I just think when Lamar Jackson's on the slate, you throw him in your captain spot. Look, that 17.56 is the lowest score he's put up since he's been a starting quarterback. I get that he's priced really high. I mean, he's one of the highest priced guys I've ever seen on a showdown slate. Like, to pay $19.5 for him as your captain, that means he's going to have to put you up close to 60 points to hit a 3x return. He's probably not giving you 60 as a 3x return, but if he gets you 40 something points, with everything else you're putting in that lineup, I just think that floor is there. And that's why I'm throwing it, because he also does have the upside, right? That's the difference with Lamar Jackson. Jackson goes for 30, 38 points, 35 points. Well, now you're talking over 50 fantasy points. So yeah, he's not getting you a 3x on the captain, but he doesn't need to. You get 50 something out of points out of Lamar Jackson, and everyone else is doing what they need to do. And even worse, Lamar puts up 50 some odd points and you don't have Lamar Jackson, you're done. You're done in cash. And we don't worry about ownership in cash games. We've never worried about ownership in cash games. You can't worry about ownership in cash games because the rest of the field has them, great. You're right there with them. If the rest of the field doesn't, cool. You're moving up the field on them. But you don't want to miss out on the guy that everyone's owning. It's not a GPP. GPP, we want to play the ownership game a little bit. Not as much as a lot of people have you believe. You don't need the 0.1% owned guy. You don't need the Devin Duvernay all the time to hit. But you play the ownership game a little bit more in GPPs. Cash, I don't even look at ownership. Just let me play him. Just give me the floor and let me cash. Let me get that cash. Guaranteed win? No, never is. But you want to take what is most likely to happen. The old Matthew Berry adage: play for what is most likely to happen, and that is getting that floor right there. And that's why. Yeah, that's why I go. So I'm going with the kickers. Oh, it feels dirty. Both kickers in the cash game lineup. But
I know it's crazy to think, but they're two of the most productive guys. I mean, there's a reason why season long drafts they were number 1 and number 2 kickers being taken. You know what production you're getting.
Wait, you play in a kicker league? I don't know if I can have you right from me anymore.
Yeah. I have a couple of my leagues that we still have kickers. I know it's a nightmare. Every year I bang the drum. We gotta get rid of kickers, but they're stuck in their ways. They don't want to. It's tough.
Get rid of kickers. Get rid of defense. Throw a couple extra flex in there. Run with the super flex. That's the way to live.
Yeah, I've just come to the thing with kickers now. The leagues that I do have them, as long as the guy is getting a couple points every week, I don't play this. Pick the right matchup or waiver wire every week on kickers. I just keep the same guy as long as he's doing something. Just because you're gonna miss out way too much if you keep going back and forth.
Yeah, the last year that I had played in a league with kickers, I wouldn't even draft a kicker or a defense at the draft. I would just wait, and then I would just drop 2 guys right before kickoff of the first week, and that would be my kicker, and I'd stream the whole year. I wouldn't even stream. Yeah. Whatever kicker I had, I'd stick with, and then I would just stream defenses the rest of the year.
Yeah.
All right, guys, it's 8:11 back east, 5:11 here. I want to make sure we're ready for kickoff. Good luck tonight. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Don't forget banksterdfs.com. Add that /subscribe to get you to the link. $3.99 a week gets you all of our content for every sport we cover, and we cover them all. Baseball, football, hockey, basketball, soccer, golf, NASCAR, MMA. I'm probably missing some tennis. I don't know. Whatever other sports I missed out on.
College sports.
College sports.
College basketball's coming back.
Yep. We got great team for those guys, for those sports as well. $3.99 a week, daily articles, player pools, the best Slack chat in the game. And of course, we've got all of us. We've got award-winning writers. Jeff Kaminsky, the current reigning, defending Soccer Writer of the Year, 4-time nominee, me, 4-time nominee for Writer of the Year and future Writers of the Year all over the site. It's a great site for $4 a week, less than a cup of coffee. Can't go wrong. I mean, ask the people in our members-only Slack chat how happy they are to spend $4. Yeah, we got wrestling too, Richard. That's right.
We do.
Don't forget Traeger, all sorts of fun movie rooms. We got all sorts of rooms in our Slack. Don't forget, though, talk to our members. Ask them how happy they were to spend $4 this week on the advice we gave. They made that back many times over. We'll be back for, when are we coming back? Thursday, we're doing a podcast. Not sure if we're doing it live or if we're doing it on our normal podcasting site. And then I will be Sunday, right? I'll be rolling solo.
Yeah, Sunday you'll be solo. Hopefully tomorrow night my schedule should work out. I should be able to do another waiver wire pod. Hopefully we can do that live as well, you guys, because Tuesday nights are important for for waivers, so we can get that live as well. Nice. That'll be a big help, for those in season longs also. I think we went pretty well last week.
Maybe we'll live stream it. Maybe we'll set one up and we'll do another live stream tomorrow.
Hey,
who knows?
For it.
We're going to live stream quite a bit. You're going to see these beautiful faces many times. And then who knows who's coming on Sunday. I know Michael can't be there. Maybe Sean will join me. If not, you'll just hear me going solo for a little over an hour on Sunday. Articles all week long, every sport, $3.99 a week, $3.99 a week. BanksterDFS.com/subscribe. He is Michael Gudadero, the Big Gouda. I am Doug Shane, Bankster17. Later, y'all.